Welcome to Social Ella Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. Usually in these videos, I don't get too personal, so I don't share personal stories about myself because it's not about me, it's about pointing you to the Lord. And I usually don't get animated because a lot of times I just don't get too excited about certain things. And it's not that I'm not excited. I'm not basically here for entertainment. But I do have a personal story to share, and I may get a little bit animated at times, but bear with me. I served a great deal of time in the military. I actually went through officer candidate school. While I was in officer candidate school, we had groups that were called platoons. So I was in a platoon and I was about to head into the dining facility. And we're in a line, and there were certain things that we had to do before going inside the dining facility. For example, doing pull-ups. So I think I did my pull-ups, and I'm waiting in line to go inside. And the officer who was in charge of my platoon came up to me, and he just kind of whispered, saying that there is a rotation for the company commander, the student company commander, and he was thinking about having me represent the platoon as the student company commander. It's not that I said, oh, whatever, but I just nonchalantly said, if that's what you want to do, okay. There's some people who are hungry for power, and as far as long as I can remember, I have not been one of those. In the military, we have this term called spotlight ranger. Someone who, whenever the spotlight's on them, they change. That just wasn't my thing. If I had been selected to serve as the company commander, I'd have done my best. One of my philosophies in life is, I'd much rather be a street sweeper in heaven than a prince in hell. Or in other words, or another way of looking at it is, what's what I'm called to do? I'm going to try to do my best. That's it. It doesn't matter if I'm sweeping a suite or sweeping a street, or if I'm called to lead. Just simply do my best. And hopefully my best will be good enough in the Lord's eyes. But our relationship with the Lord wasn't what it is now. But in any event, inside the dining facility, it is actually a high-stress environment because there were a couple hundred of us that had to go in and out within about 30 minutes. If not, there would be hell to pay. More on that later. So I go inside the dining facility. I ate. I don't think I even shared that news with anyone about me potentially being selected as the student company commander. Again, if I was selected for it, fine. If not, fine. I'm just going to keep on doing what I need to do. My focus was on graduation. Anything else, in a sense, was a bonus. Well, the time came and found out that someone else had been selected as the student company commander for my platoon. I was fine. But the thing was, I got selected as what is known as the dining facility, or the DFAC officer. When I mentioned earlier that a couple hundred of us had 30 minutes to get in and out of the dining facility, that was one of the roles and responsibility of the DFAC officer, to ensure that the entire officer candidate school class got in and out within 30 minutes. Because there were several companies. I think at the time there were 3. So we all had lunch around the same time, which meant the dining facility officer had to get one group in and out so that another company could come in. So basically within an hour and a half, if there were about 1,000 of us, within an hour and a half it meant feeding 1,000 people. So it was high pressure. Well, so the other person got selected as the student company commander, and I got selected as the DFAC officer. And if you've caught on, yes, that was punishment. Basically, it was punishment because I didn't do backflips and I didn't seem excited about being the student company commander. But such is life. And you may be in a position right now where it's not where you want to be. And maybe someone misunderstood you along the way and you kind of felt like Joseph, where you thought your family was going to bow down to you, people are going to be bowing down to you, and next thing you know, you're in prison or you're in some kind of bondage, and it seems as if the Lord has taken you in a direction that is quite opposite of what you expected. But bear with me. Usually these roles were for a week. So at the end of the week, the person who was selected over me to be the student company commander, he relinquished his role to someone else from another platoon. But guess who was still the DFAC officer? Officer candidate school, from what I recall, was 99 days long. During the history of that class, I served as dining facility officer for the longest. But it came to a point, and in fact, let me share something with you about the dining facility officer. As a part of responsibilities for getting people in and out of the dining facility within 30 minutes, there would be a table for the training officers. And if they felt, for example, like a grain of salt was missing from their salt shaker, one of them would say, DFAC officer. And when the person says DFAC officer, it would hold up things because every single student would have to stop eating, to include those who are in line, and start shouting, DFAC officer, DFAC officer, which meant I needed to go respond. It was walking in line of fire, so to speak. I need to go and respond to whatsoever the issue was. In some cases, the complaint may be like, these students are talking too much, or they're taking too long. It could be 15 minutes into the process, but they're taking too long. So whatsoever it was, I need to go address it. And the longer I took to go report to the training officers was the longer the students were being delayed because they couldn't eat while shouting DFAC officer. But it came to a point where I became so comfortable being the DFAC officer. I'm not going to say that I became good at it, but I became so comfortable where it didn't faze me. In fact, it never fazed me in the beginning. I had been under pressure for so long that I truly was unfazed. Years later, I actually became a real company commander. And one of the sayings my soldiers used to have is that heat and pressure make a diamond. Well, the thing is, during that time as a dining facility officer, I was under heat and pressure, but I didn't even realize the heat and pressure anymore because I had become accustomed to it. That's one of those things. Sometimes the devil thinks that he has you down. And it's like he has taken just about everything except for your life. And the position that he put you in is perfect because you have lost just about everything. It's like, what else is there? And basically, as long as you have your relationship with the Lord, that's truly all that matters. And we see this in the book of Job. 2 times the devil afflicted Job. Took his flock, killed his 10 children, afflicted him personally with a disease where he had sores all over his body. And even his own wife said, why do you curse God and die? So the one thing you could say that the devil left Job with was his wife. And from that one statement she made, she really was an asset. So you could see why the devil left her alone. When you get to the end of Job, you see the Lord blessed him for the trouble that he went through. But back to that point where the devil has you in a position where he thinks that he has you trapped. But he doesn't realize that he is making you stronger. He's putting you in a position for the Lord to bless you at the end of your trials. So if you're going through a trial right now, and you may feel so far off course for what you think the Lord has planned for you, or what you may know the Lord has planned for you, keep being faithful to the Lord. And if the devil has you in a position where you feel as if you have lost it all, and the only thing else he can take is your life, that is great, because that truly means that he really can't impact you anymore. So back to the issue of being the DFAC officer. But it turns out that the person who replaced me as, or was selected instead of me as the student company commander for my platoon, he's the one that actually went to my TAC officer and said, he's been in a position for a while. And then the training officer was like, okay. And I was replaced by someone else. Now here's the thing. I actually started enjoying being the DFAC officer. I actually missed it when I was replaced. It's one of those things where sometimes the devil has you in a position and he thinks that you're suffering, but you're actually embracing your suffering. You're making the best on the circumstances. It's one of those things where the Lord will have you come out and he'll say to you, well done, my faithful servant, because you endured the test, and he gives you that crown of victory. But the story continues. So I didn't get selected as the student company commander. But another opportunity came up. Like I mentioned, it was a rotation for the second highest position in Officer Candidate School. And that was the company executive officer. That turned out to be such a blessing. For one, my time as the DFAC officer prepared me to deal with a lot of pressure. And those who know me personally know how I handle pressure. But that thing being the DFAC officer prepared me to deal with pressure. And what I realized by being the executive officer was if I was the company commander, I would be marching in front of the entire company and leading the way. And that is great. But I was better fit to be the executive officer because I was the one staying up late every day, writing operations orders, planning things for the next day, the next week, putting out training schedules, coordinating logistics. And if something were to happen to the company commander, I would step up to fill that position. But I was better suited to be the executive officer, the person who was behind the scenes, ensuring that the company commander would look good. The things that you're going through now or the things that you've been through in the past is preparation for the future. Me doing things to ensure the company commander was taken care of is in a sense what I'm doing now. I am pointing people to the Lord. Someone else who's in a higher position than me, and I have to ensure that I'm doing things that He is glorified. The Lord's wisdom is so infinite. The path to our destiny is seldom straight. There are obstacles. In some cases, people can say, things don't always go according to the Lord's plan. Romans 8:28. He works things out for our good and yes, His glory. The Lord didn't want Jonah to disobey Him. The Lord wanted Jonah to go straight to Nineveh and preach in that city. But Jonah, he took the Lord, or he took the long way in order to get the Lord's will done. But the Lord's will was done. So again, the path to our destinies is seldom straight. A lot of times when people look at your story, they will see the end. They will see when you're on top, but they truly won't know your struggles. I mentioned Joseph earlier. He went through tremendous difficulty. The Lord gave him 2 dreams that his family would one day bow down to him. However, at the time, Joseph was not ready to handle the responsibilities the Lord had for him. And him going into slavery and later imprisonment, those were things to humble him. When Joseph finally got his opportunity, and he too ended up being second in charge in Egypt, the governor, when he got the opportunity to excel, he took off his prison clothes and he appeared in front of the Pharaoh. And when he interpreted the Pharaoh's dreams, there was a sense of humility about him. He didn't say, sure, I know how to interpret dreams. He gave God credit before even interpreting the dream. He said the interpretation of dreams belongs to God. So he was glorifying God. And when his family finally bowed down to him, he wasn't lording over them. He wasn't trying to oppress them. No, by that point, he's probably had thousands, if not millions of people who had been bowing down to him. He was more mature, able to handle responsibilities of the office the Lord had in store for him. Sure, he wasn't the Pharaoh of Egypt, but he fulfilled his role. I mentioned about destiny again and the road. A lot of times people read the book of Ruth and they see how in Ruth chapter 2, Ruth and Boaz met. Then chapter 3, basically the relationship is off to a start. In chapter 4, it talks about how they had a baby named Obed. Obed later had Jesse, David. And David fathered basically a long line of kings of Israel. But you also have to pay attention to Ruth chapter 1. And what it took a famine that drove Naomi and her husband from Bethlehem to Moab. She had 2 sons who ended up marrying 2 different women, one of whom was Ruth. And because Naomi and Ruth end up moving back to Bethlehem, that is how she met Boaz. Oh, and by the way, Naomi's son, Ruth's husband, died along the way. But all these things played a role in Ruth's destiny. She may have enjoyed being married to Mahlon, but her true calling was to be with Boaz. We also see something similar with Hadassah, who we commonly refer to as Esther. You may know the story of how Queen Vashti disobeyed King Ahasuerus, also known as Xerxes, and how she was cast out, and King Ahasuerus sought a bride, and how he selected Esther, and how Esther ended up saving the Jews. And that's great. But also pay attention to Esther chapter 2. Esther was an orphan. Her uncle Mordecai took care of her. A lot of times we see people getting the glory, but we truly don't know their story. Wheresoever you are, the Lord has a plan for you. You can quote Jeremiah 29:11, but he has a plan for you, a plan to prosper you. Prosperity is not about earthly riches, because we ought to store up riches in heaven, not here on earth. But just know that whatsoever it is that you're going through, even if the devil has you in a tough spot, it is all preparation for what the Lord has in store for you. So again, I didn't end up becoming the company commander, but the executive officer was a much better fit for me, and it was so rewarding. You won't always get what you want, but trust the Lord to give you what you need. Now, I have heard that saying used to manipulate people to settle for less than the best for what the Lord has in store for them. Don't do that. But just trust the Lord to guide you. And in some cases, you may end up in a position where the Lord truly doesn't want you in. Listen to his voice when he's trying to make a way out for you. And when he makes a way out for you, get out. With Joseph, he interpreted 2 dreams for the cupbearer and the baker. He told the baker that he would die in 3 days, and he did. He told the cupbearer that Pharaoh would restore him, and when he did, that he should remember him. It took 2 years for the cupbearer to remember Joseph. But once Joseph got his opportunity to get out of the position that he was in, he took off his prisoner clothes, cleaned up himself, and moved to his destiny. Be prepared to move to your destiny. God bless you.